Okay, you're on.
Okay, Douglas. No, we did not boost the leach with OxyClean. Um, didn't need to, or didn't try it. It's a little bit different when you're doing large quantities of material, like on, in the 1-ton agitation tank or the leach pad.
Hi, David. Starting off with Murphy, no idea. Hi, Brian. Hi, Honey Bunny. Yeah, let us know when audio is good.
Okay, she already did sound check good. So anyhow, if you were doing a batch setup where you had a lot of gold in solution, it might make sense to adjust your pH back and forth. But if you're trying to do a continuous process, that wouldn't work too well. How much Eco Goldex to Washington? I mean, it was a lot more expensive than that, just the delivery.
Hi, James.
For us. That the delivery charge or the total cost or what, Douglas? Maybe they've got it down to where the shipping companies aren't charging them a huge premium for hazmat or something. That would be good. Because I think we were paying like 40% was just shipping or something like that.
Yeah, something along those lines.
It was pretty intense.
But then again, we shipped a whole lot of it too. You would have thought the shipping would go down in a while.
Yeah.
Hi, Chris. Yeah, well, the new internet seems to be working well, and for some bizarre and unaccountable reason that we cannot figure out, Douglas says $6 a pound plus shipping. Chris, we never figured out why, but I did exactly the same thing I did last week this week, and the OBS is behaving normally. So I give up.
Yeah, for a single pound, that sounds about the same as what it was. It's about $6 for the chemical, about $4 for shipping or something like that. When you're spending $1,000, it gets a little pricier. But say because of the situation where we were setting up for either A, large batches, or B, a continuous flow like with the pad leach.
$375 for 55 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Plus shipping.
Plus shipping, yeah. That sounds about right. And so we worked on identifying a method where we could recover the gold from solution without really changing the solution. It was readily absorbed onto the Max Water 104133 resin. Let's see. And that's some dried loaded resin there. It comes from the factory, just a kind of an off-white.
Chris says that FOB in the U.S. are still crossing the border. I wish we could get it in the U.S., Chris.
Yeah.
It might be cheaper.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's still crossing the border. But identifying the method to get it out of the leach solution took a little bit. At first we were hoping to do direct electrowinning.
Jigging claims 100 mesh recovery 95%. 95%.
I would say run a test first, because that's not going to work in all ores for sure. Like Montana B would, yeah, right, less than 50%.
Montana B, we recovered about 17% with gravity.
Yeah, but it wasn't jigging.
Yeah.
So with top of the hill, that might very well be possible, but it all depends upon your particular ore and your grind size and stuff like that. You can kind of determine what is possible with gravity by hand panning your material several times in a row and not trying to get down to clean gold, just getting down to concentrates, and then repan your tailings, and then see what your tailings are running. Okay? If that'll,
Chris
give you
says a
good
decent jig setup can get that, but if you have much minus 100 mesh, the recovery rate goes down quickly.
Yeah. I say, Montana B, no. I'm sure it wouldn't, because some like half of the gold doesn't even settle in 60 seconds in still water. It's just really floaty stuff. So you really have to test, and before you spend money on equipment, you need to do some small scale testing. And say that's why I like the hand panning followed by a laboratory assay, because if you have a good sample, large sample, all ground, blended and everything to start with, and you have an assay of that, and then you do multiple hand panning of the exact same stuff where you're just getting your concentrates held back, only tailings going out. After a couple of pannings, compare those tailings with the head grade and see what you get.
Hi, Mr. Virtue, and Shane says he much prefers a shaker table over anything for recovering free milling gold, even small stuff.
One nice thing about a shaker table is you can see what's going on a lot better than you can in a jig. But again, it all depends on the ore.
Chris says shaker table is good for running cons, but if you have higher volumes, a jig makes a lot more sense for primary if the size works.
Yeah, if you're scalping, what you're trying to do is throw away as much of the waste as possible, as easy as possible, and then you go and you're trying to take your concentrates and get them down to clean gold with the lowest losses as possible.
Shane says, I'll take my time with my shaker table, make my money, and be happy. Yeah,
it all depends on what your throughput is. We used to, at the mine I was working at, we did 14,000 tons a day. That's going to be kind of tough on a shaker table.
Yeah,
Plus,
if you're a normal little guy like us, yeah, probably could.
It all depends on the particular ore. Montana B, yeah, you'd be throwing away 75% of your gold at least.
On the other hand, top of the hill,
you might be getting 90%.
Body.
Yeah, you might be getting 90% plus. You just have to test. There's no rule of thumb that works, but one rule of thumb that works real well is if you don't test, you're going to make some mistakes that you could have easily avoided.
Chris says if you only have a couple of tons to run, it's great. If you have even tens of tons to run, it's a major bottleneck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is too, where one of the biggest mistakes I've seen people make is either not sampling the ore body or the mineralized zone enough to get a really good idea of what you got and making mistakes there, or not doing enough extraction testing, so you buy the wrong equipment to process it. You spent a lot of capital.
Brian says he spent the weekend finding out mud doesn't filter, but it does settle out, so now he decants and then filters.
Yep. That's that's why we talked about that last week, because yes, if you got a lot of slimes, filtering can be a real problem.
You don't have to read things yourself, dude.
Yeah, I'm watching. Okay. Yeah, the nugget effect sucks. Absolutely. You can run up to 3 tons a day. That's a pretty good sized shaker dam. Not a huge one, but a decent sized one. I don't think that's like a little RP4 would be my guess. More like a Silver Springs or something like that, or a Mount Baker size table. I say, and this is why there's no one size fits all answer to the problem. It's your grade, your throughput, your mineralogy, your particle sizes, everything like that to optimize it for what you're doing. Yeah, and as Chris is bringing out, are you retabling your tailings to get the as much of the residual as possible? These sort of things. I say it sounds like a perfectly plausible system for the right ore. Absolutely. I say top of the hill. I think something like that might work real well. Absolutely. Montana B, no way. Yeah, that sounds about right, Shane. I think I've seen the Silver Springs about that size up in Yarrington, and it looks like the Mount Baker table is about that size. And again, you just got to see what you do. If everything's being real cooperative, you can probably crank up your throughput. If it's not, even slowing it way down, you might not get a good recovery. Just have to test. And that's where a lot of people make a big mistake, because the people who are selling equipment, their job is to sell equipment. That's the way they generally look at it. And it's your job to figure out whether that equipment is what you need. If you want to buy one, they'll be happy to sell it to you. Okay, Brian. By the way, we bought a used paper shredder, and the film comes up. The problem is they're kind of stuck together. They're not individually separated. So I might have to see if I can get it somewhere where you can see a little better. Might have to take like a paper cutter and just chop them up just a little bit more for processing. It's one of those situations where I really wanted to do some testing before today. Unfortunately, somebody over here has found out that keeping this trailer pretty warm is perfectly feasible with firewood, but not a small quantity of firewood. She, I say, so we're trying to dial in what the optimum amount is. And since we don't even know what our utility bill is going to be just yet, because we haven't got the first one, it's awful hard to do the calculations. But yesterday she was burning wood at the rate of 150 to 200 pounds a day. That was definitely keeping things nice and cozy warm and stuff like that. We're trying to back off a little bit, see what we can do. But that big load that Lauren fetched for me, it took quite a bit of time to sort through it, get it stacked and everything else, because these are basically ends and pieces. It's a company that manufactures fence posts and stuff, big wood fence posts, and so it's the little stubs and everything from 2 inches thick all the way up to, almost 3 feet long.
Yeah, pretty much, Douglas. This is mixed conifer here, and it's mostly seasoned, but it's not perfect. It's not optimally seasoned.
Yeah.
So there is that. But dude here has never run a fireplace, unlike me.
Yeah. But anyhow, so I finally got it all basically whipped into sizes, shapes, and stacks today. And I've gone through most of the real short pieces and some of the other stuff. So now it should be a little bit more routine, but unfortunately we're probably going to have to go ahead and get another load fairly quickly,
Well, my
1 or 2
goal,
months, but
my
we'll see.
goal at the moment, Douglas, is to try to keep the living area of the house between 65 and 68 degrees, just about. And our outside temperature these days is mid 30s to 40s.
Yeah, it's basically
So-
bouncing up and down around freezing at the moment, so it's quite temperate.
The actual furnace just kicked on for the second time since I got up this morning. About 2 pounds per hour per 100 square feet. Yeah, I'm trying to keep about 500 square
let's see.
feet
Can you hand me
reasonably
the
warm. So
calculator?
that's about 10 pounds an hour. See, dude here did not understand that because he's never done fireplace. I have. I knew looking at it that we were looking at about a month of wood out there.
So we're looking at about a 1,400 square foot thing.
We do not have
I'm
R21.
sure it's not R21.
At the most, we have R13 if we're lucky, and that I only know about because of the R13 he put in. See, that's the biggest problem here is mobile homes are a challenge to begin with. Older, drafty mobile homes without reasonable insulation are definitely a challenge to deal with. And this one, I mean, you can see daylight around our back door, okay? That's how bad it is. There is daylight that shows around our back door.
Yeah.
There's actually daylight that shows around our front door, too.
Now,
So-
it definitely needs some improvements and such.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
I'd say
and that's the thing. I mean, like I said, dude here had never run a fireplace before. I have. One of my uncles ran a lumber mill. So, yeah.
well, one of the questions I have that we won't answer until a couple months from now, 1 to 2 months, is how well can the furnace even keep up with
Well,
20, 30 below zero?
Douglas dude here is wearing a t-shirt. I'm wearing 2 full layers. Well, I'm wearing 2 full layers on top for my core, 1 full layer down below. And, yeah, I wouldn't mind having the great stuff. But then we're not putting proper insulation in here, Chris, because A, we don't own it. B, the owner has no inclination to charge,
I don't think he's planning on keeping it for long.
yeah. There
So
is
what he's
no
trying to do
inclination.
is get maximum return on investment over the short term, and large capital expenditures go against that. So he's trying to balance it. But we shall see what we shall see on that. I would agree. Although I don't know how much insulation you can do when you've got a double wide trailer. I mean, the attic, some of this has flat ceilings. So theoretically, that part of the attic space, you could get more insulation in without too much trouble.
Douglas, I've got good foundation long johns that I chose when we got up here
Let me
so
check
that they would
something real
handle
fast.
stuff. And yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't mind doing that, Chris. There are still things we can do. At least we got plastic over the windows, And if
It might actually be 2x6 walls.
they should be 2x6.
Yeah.
But that does not mean that we've got decent insulation in the
No.
ceiling. Yeah. Insulation on the outside, as Chris said. Yeah, I've heard tell that they now make some insulated siding. Never seen it myself, but I have also seen people take trailers like this and put that styrofoam board insulation and then put the paneling over that when they do the paneling on the walls.
Yeah, I'll say
You know, like literally glue the styrofoam to the existing paneling and put new on.
I understand.
I've seen it done.
I guarantee you that the owner, because he's not paying for the utilities,
Oh, no.
doesn't want to do massive capital expenditures.
It's my belief that'll turn out to be true, Douglas. I will not know until I'm done with the math. This dude over here, y'all got to talk to him and tell him to stop screwing up my experimentation. Because what I'm trying to do is keep close track of this shit so that when I get the next utility bill on the 15th, then I can go from 15th to 15th doing the next phase of the test, which is where I change the settings on the furnace and the times of day that I run
that
the
would be
fireplace.
fine, except it would be nice if we had the first utility bill without the fireplace.
Yeah, I know.
Too.
The next thing I'm going to be doing is spending at least 2 weeks in the next utility bill period when I see a 10-day period in there that's got comparable temperatures to this. We're going to run only the furnace and not use the fireplace for 2 weeks.
What do you mean by an SIP, Douglas? I'm not familiar with
We're not
that.
rebuilding anything because this isn't our trailer.
Yeah, I say, since he always has the renters pay the utilities, he's not highly motivated to cut that utility cost himself.
Yeah.
It's
Hi,
hello, Red Wing. I'm not sure, but it seems to me that the housing market is still pretty darn
Structural
tight.
insulated panel, Chris said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Virtue, I'm keeping my eyes open for some. I can get pallets free all day, but we all know that pallets are one of the fastest consumed woods. They do work. And I'm looking at getting some free pallets.
Hey, Anders, how's it going?
Oh, we are in Montana, and it is currently about 0 C.
Yeah. It's not very cold just yet.
It's not very cold yet. Sometimes it gets down to minus 20 C or so here, Anders.
Minus 30.
Yeah.
Minus 30 and minus 30 are about the same. C
Okay,
and F.
so minus.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, as we all know, one of the least efficient options, even though it is conifer wood a lot of times, is pallets. But yes, I can get free pallets, and I can get lots of free pallets. And I am looking at doing a test with that just to get a couple of 100 pounds of free pallets, use nothing but that, and time it to see how long it takes to go through that, because that'll tell me the consumption.
How are Joachim and Haley doing, Anders?
Yeah, Anders, how are Joachim and Haley?
So, around here, you can get free wood pretty easily if you got the right setup.
Yeah, only 0 C.
Yeah. For example, Lauren, when he's working out there at that mining project he's on, he has to cut down trees for road access and this and that and the other. And so he just cuts it up into chunks, throws it in his dump trailer, and hauls it to his place.
Yeah, the creosote is something I was looking at, David, but the thing is, most of our pallets are really well seasoned. They're not, we don't get a lot of, I haven't heard a lot of tell from the people that use pallets around here having a problem with creosote. I was going to ask Lauren about that, too.
Well, I know this much. It take a lot of pallets to compensate for what we're doing.
Oh, absolutely. But just the other day I was looking at literally an entire pile of pallets about the size of half this building that the guy was giving away.
Yeah. I say it's one of those deals where we only paid 4 cents a pound for the wood that we got. So 5,600 pounds was $225. That's going to be pretty tough to beat.
That would be so cool, honey bunny. Well, the other thing is, like, you know, when we get back up to the top of the hill, if we had a claim of our own up there that had a lot of standing or fallen dead wood on it, yes, it would be super low quality wood, but it still does produce the BTUs. It's just a high consumption rate. And if you bought home half the trailer with rocks and half the trailer with wood every damn week.
So we're getting paid to bring home a trailer full of rocks, not
I know.
a trailer full of.
I'm saying if
yeah.
we had a claim of our own that we spent a couple of days
Yeah.
on every week.
Yeah, if we were doing something of our own, yeah. It's going to be a cold winter coming up, huh?
Yeah, I had
We shall
heard
see.
that the Farmer's Almanac seems to think it's going to be cold but dry where we are.
Could be.
Looking at a little low moisture.
Oh, you know, tomorrow we got a trip in midday. I got an appointment late morning, and then we got to head on up to Billings. Eva has an appointment first thing in the morning at her doctor's out there. And
Wage
Then we'll
slave
be
says
heading back.
burn the rocks on the wood. Well, that's one thing I do want to get is I want to get some fire brick for this box because it's not a great solution, but it does add a place to hold heat. Because I will say, having lived with real fireplaces and having lived with wood stoves, a mobile home fireplace is not exactly what normal people would consider a
a
fireplace.
wood stove would be much more efficient for heating.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because it holds the mass, it holds the heat.
Well, no, it's because it's got
Yeah.
airflow on all sides.
Yeah. Not only that.
This only has, I mean, it has airflow around it, but there's a
Yeah.
insulated, yeah.
But
Fire
not only
proof.
that, your old school wood stoves are several hundred pounds of cast iron or several hundred pounds of soapstone. I mean, a good wood stove will hold heat
I'm sure it would.
hours and hours and hours and hours, radiant heat.
I'm pretty sure it would, honey bunny. You bet. Around here, another possibility that some people could potentially take advantage of is geothermal. There's, I mean, just right down the road to the Broadwater Hot Springs.
Brian says, "Oh my God, roasting with fire, just like filtering mud." Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we got Broadwater Hot Springs down here, what, maybe a mile?
Yeah.
Down the road, roughly. So, in some places in this general area, you can drill into geothermal aquifers that you may get 120 degree water.
In which case, when you build your house, you put in a hypocaust system. You put in piping above your concrete pad and below your floor, and you heat your freaking floor like the Romans did.
Yeah. I mean, it could work pretty well.
Yeah. Brian says, looks good on paper until you try it. Roasting with fire, very much like filtering mud. Yeah. Well, the reason I was looking at getting some fire bricks to throw in there is because this is a mobile home fireplace. You know, it does not have the mass that a real fireplace has. Adding some bricks or adding some rocks in there. The last people had rocks in there. I don't trust their rocks because they were a bunch of crackheads. So these rocks may well explode. I don't want to find out the hard way.
Well, I'm sure they won't because they've been in there long enough.
I don't trust anything in this house, dude.
Oh, you have little faith.
Honey says, pipe hot water into a mine and live in it. Perfect comfort for free. Jeff Bybee says, agree with Douglas. I had a stove with cinder blocks stacked around and over the stove and a box with a lot of pipes and put a fan and blow air through. Burn around 250 pounds a day. Yep.
Yeah.
Mr. Virtue says, we use hot rocks in Northern Federation. Mm-hmm. Well, they work great in saunas, too.
Oh, they work great in a sweat lodge, I'll tell you. Man.
Brian says, Harry said hi.
Hello, Harry. Yeah, it's pretty impressive when you're in a sweat lodge and they bring in glowing rocks. That's pretty warm stuff.
Yeah, I mean there are some limitations to the fireplace situation here,
Yeah.
which I very much expected. And if certain people would stop messing with my experimentation, we might have a good idea of what's going to be the best
Well,
balance. But it'll take a while.
it was messed for at least 30 minutes, maybe at most. Duh. You know? Glowing metal, huh? Yeah. No,
I was talking to some yo-yo who was saying that we should put solar. And I'm like, yeah, solar is lovely when it gets snowed on, you know.
well, it's not just that, but
And the batteries don't store for shit, and things don't work for shit in the winter when you ain't got no sun and it's 30 below.
yeah, I don't know how well the solar cells will work. It's pretty common up here. But yeah, I think you'd have to have quite a few to do heating. You know, that's a
Yeah.
lot of collector area you would need for that. In most areas, they would simply use a thermal collector system, but that wouldn't work very well here.
I mean, you can't expect people to come up with rational ideas. Everybody is enamored with solar for some bizarre reason.
Yeah, it's about right for Phoenix, James. Absolutely. Standard kit, which has 3.
This is the real world.
Yeah. No, yeah, there's lots of ways to do these things, but this fireplace is by definition not, well, it's an old one and like, you know, that sort of thing. It does have circulation of air around the firebox though, so it's better than just a regular fireplace, you know, call it conventional. So that's good. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It should keep me in shape over the winter, though, splitting wood. Lauren offered to let me use his hydraulic splitter, but aside from the, you know, hassle of hauling it back and forth and this and that, the stuff I'm dealing with, these, you know, the biggest ones are maybe 10 or 12 inches, so a good smack with a maul splits them pretty easily. The stuff that Lauren gets, I mean, he's getting, you know, 16 to 24 inch, sometimes bigger rounds, and that really, you know, almost requires a hydraulic splitter to do an efficient job with it. But I say most of the stuff is pretty easy to smack, and I can use the exercise. Well, it's already got forced air blowing around the firebox. And again, I don't want to spend my money too much on stuff, and I don't want to do anything that, it's not my place, so I can't experiment as much as one might want to.
Lars, Anders says things are going fine with Haley. Your team has a great job. You're always welcome to us in Sweden. It would be great if you came to us. Well, hopefully someday we can visit.
Yeah, that would be cool.
It would be fantastic, Anders, but the way things are going, we just are so busy. And I'm glad Haley is doing well, and I'm glad Joachim has a good job.
Yeah. You raised a good son there, Anders.
Yeah.
You know, got a lot of respect for him.
Wasteland says you could stuff turkey sandwiches into the crack where you see the outside. At least there are 4. That would be a waste of good turkey, dude. We ate all ours that we had for Thanksgiving anyway.
No, I'm working on things a bit at a time. I need to get the electrical, all the outlets and stuff replaced.
We need to figure out why certain lights randomly turn off for no apparent reason.
I'm not sure what's
turn
going on
back on
there. I
again.
don't like that at all.
I don't either.
Hey, Rainmaker.
Hi, Rainmaker. Doge!
Okay, I gotta take a short break myself here.
Yeah, he's gonna get up and take a short break for a minute. Hi, everybody. Anyway, yeah, we're working on the whole thing. Yeah, Jeff, you definitely, a splitter is a good thing. A splitter is a very good thing. Yeah, pellets are just, around here, a whole pallet of pellets runs around $300, I believe it is. I mean, you can get good prices on pellets. How well they work, whatever type they are, who knows? Rainmaker. Hello, Mr. Virtue. But yeah, we're still working on the experimentation here. I'm gonna find the best balance once I've got 2 utility bills to work with, one full cycle and one half cycle. I'm gonna come up with the best balance for the wood plus the furnace, because I need to prepare for when we actually do go below zero at some point. It's bound to happen. It happens every year, so it's bound to happen. Just saying. Meanwhile, we're going to Billings tomorrow. Yay. I love the drive to Billings. I don't actually want to go to Billings. Billings is probably as bad a city as Missoula, and I don't like Missoula. So there is that. But anyway, with any luck, we will be able to... Hi, John. Well, we have a lab. We don't have a shop. We have a master bedroom that's being used as a shop right now. But we do have a lab that's being set up, and I am hoping after I get these doctor's appointments out of the way, I can get to work on recovering the silver from that X-ray film, and we can get to the point where you guys get to see the whole thing. Now, Doofus here is still talking about bringing in multiple cameras and absolutely making my life miserable, you know.
Well, just hooking up the camcorder as another camera.
Jeff, I am actually enjoying having a fireplace to tend again. I really do like fireplaces.
Yeah, she does seem to like.
Anders said, yep.
Yep. Anyhow.
Yeah, Jeff, I love tending. I love tending my fire.
She does seem to like it. Yep. It is nice and warm in her little corner of the living room.
Yeah, right now here, the heat triggered a little bit ago, and it's 69 degrees.
69. That's about where it was normally say. It's 50 degrees in the crawl space right now.
Yeah.
So that's the lowest I've seen yet.
Yes, I'm trying to keep the crawl space 50 or higher. So.
Well, the only thing that heats the crawl space is leakage from the ducting
I'm
on the
aware
other
of
stuff.
that, dude. And a little later, we're going to be getting to that time when the heater is going to be triggering more often, even with the fireplace going.
I think when it gets really cold, I suspect the heater's going to be running almost continuously,
Yeah,
and the fireplace is going to be running pretty good.
pretty darn sure that's going to be the case unless we get some serious insulation of one kind or another in here. Ooh. Brian says a 20-foot unistrut to hang a camera trolley on in the mill. Good luck with that. Keep thinking those happy camper thoughts, dude. This guy doesn't seem to realize if he keeps trying to pile more tech on me, I'm gonna start engaging in some weaponized incompetence, and he's gonna have to learn how to rattle electrons. Because I ain't.
I have to say it. All we got to do is figure out how to get a second camera on a long cable. You know, shouldn't be that complex. We shall see what we shall see. I believe the camcorder would work. I don't know how well does a GoPro work well as a remote camera? I've got one of those too.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why we couldn't live stream from the GoPro. I don't know if you could live stream from both cameras at once, but the GoPro is designed to do that.
That's what OBS is for.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know exactly how to set that up.
Oh,
It might have to wait until Ryan comes to visit again.
you got sons that know these things.
Dylan does not, and Dylan won't.
Really? Okay.
Even when Dylan knows shit when it comes to the computer, Dylan don't do it. That's it.
Homie, don't do that, huh?
Yeah, homie, don't play that. It not happening with Dylan, boy. The polymer supplier and the polymer number. Our resin supplier.
The stuff we've been using is Max Water 104133.
Anders says he'll write to Facebook and show how we heat up our house and other nice things with pictures. I would love that, Anders. Put it on Facebook, and I would love to see it. And where did we get the Max Water from? Direct from Max Water.
Max Water. Yeah.
Yeah,
on the internet.
We got the resin direct from Max Water. It's on the internet, and the number we use is 104133. So.
Yeah. And then we use a stripping circuit to get it off of the resin. That's thiourea and battery acid.
Hi,
Hey, Chris. And then an electroplating cell. It's pretty
Yeah,
minimalist
Anders
stuff.
says he's going to be posting on Facebook so that we can see how
Good.
he does this thing.
I think that's a little bit beyond my capabilities, Mr.
Mr.
Virtue.
Virtue, I would love it if the state of Montana decided to get some nukes. We have wind power for some bizarre and unaccountable reason, which, as we all know, is stupid. We also have quite a lot of solar hanging around. We've got coal-fired plants, we've got oil-fired plants, we've got hydroelectric, and we have some, but very little, geothermal that is of a larger scale. I would love it if we got a nuke plant. I'm thinking, one of those fourth-generation thorium reactors or something up there right in the middle of all of the ICBMs.
Why in the middle of the ICBM?
Because then when Russia decides to take out the ICBMs, they take out the nuke plant at the same time, so we don't have to worry about it melting down. A little bit of extra fallout won't hurt anything,
I don't know. I know that a lot of the windmills are up there by the ICBMs.
Yeah.
But no, it's there is a lot of solar up here simply because there's a lot of
Well,
remote
David,
stuff
I don't
too.
know if you can purchase plutonium. I don't think you can, sadly.
I think you have to have special licenses for that. They're pretty hard to get. But no, a lot of people use solar up here for powering, because again, there's a lot of remote residences that don't have line power to them, and then they use the wood for heat.
Mr. Virtue says, can you say dark web?
Dark web?
Well,
Okay.
the thing is about solar, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, solar, first of all, solar is not green. I hate anything that is greenwashed. If they were willing to be honest about just how disastrous solar and wind are, then yeah, I might consider the idea. But they aren't green. What's the max water cost?
Last we did it, I think it was about $13 a pound, and that was a delivered price.
Yeah, something like that. It's about $13 a pound delivered.
Yeah. The gold loading, we've been achieving about 3% is all. Theoretically, you should be able to get up to about 10, but we get other stuff loading in addition, and that seems to...
Yeah, that's one factor. And the second
Stuff.
factor is so far we haven't had a really high-grade ore to test it on. Everything's been
fairly
marginal.
moderate.
So, that's one of the tests that I wanted to actually do that didn't come out right because the numbers we were getting were so crazy. But one of the things we wanted to do was see how far we could load our solution. I wanted to try to get our solution up to over 30 parts per million, maybe even 40 parts per million by just continuing to load it and not unloading it to see what the maximum loading factor is on the max water. But for that to work, you have to have proper lab results, and
it helps to have ore and liquid water too.
yeah, it helps to have ore and liquid water too. I mean, this is one of those things. Yes, supersaturation.
Yeah.
But what were we talking about before we got sidetracked by that?
Well, he asked what the loading factor was on the resin. I said the highest we've gotten is about 3 or 4%. What is that about? Well, one cartridge is 333 grams.
Yeah,
right?
I have 3 cartridges that I split a kilogram of resin between. So
and what's the most we got from a cartridge? Like 1.5 grams?
No, when things were running well at Montana B, I mean, we had, let's see, we had that one button that was 8 grams that came from one set of 3 cartridges.
Okay, so about 3 grams per cartridge.
Exactly.
So,
which was 1% loading.
Yeah, 1% loading.
Anders says it's middle of the night here in Sweden, so I'll post your Facebook page tomorrow. Thank you, Anders.
Thank you, Anders.
But anyway,
glad to hear from you.
The thing about the solar and the wind, it's one thing if you happen to live someplace like Arizona where the night and the day are pretty close together in length for a lot of the year, or down by the equator where the two are the same almost all the time. We have 16 hours of daylight in summer and 8 hours of daylight in winter. That differential is a little bit ridiculous. Second, we have our freezing cold weather, which most of the people around here that use hybrid cars are like not using their electric component at all in the winter. And electric vehicles don't run well in the winter. The batteries to store solar don't run well in the winter. And it's been cloudy as hell here for several days now. So,
My Adventure, that sounds familiar. But I don't recall. My Adventures, and say it sounds familiar, but I can't.
Would that be that really goofy guy?
What really goofy guy?
The one that's trying to be Jeff Williams and isn't?
No.
Okay.
That's
guy
America's Wildest Prospector.
Chris Saucier says that guy seems pretty clumsy using chemical extraction. We have not watched it, Chris. I'll have to go looking for it.
Doesn't sound that familiar.
Chris actually says yes.
Yeah, because I say the
From Australia, Brian says.
you got that new guy, that America's Wildest Prospector. He's clearly trying to make a YouTube channel.
Hi, Kenneth. How are you?
Hey, Ken.
Any mining questions?
So, say that it's pretty obvious. I like for someone who's playing the algorithms, Flower Gold Wizards. Jason.
Chris says he's a goofy guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Flower Gold Wizards. Jason's channel is amazing anyway. I mean,
He does a real good job playing the algorithm stuff, but he does nice work.
Wage Slave says My Adventure mixes HCl, sodium nitrate, and sulfuric.
Oh, I know who My Adventure is. That's the guy that was with Lars.
Yeah.
The Hispanic gentleman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Move back a little.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Now that's what it is. Yeah. He's I forget what his name is. But he's a Hispanic.
Well, I
gentleman.
have noticed the people that fool around with aqua regia digestion will pretty much swear by it.
Well, like everything else, if you got the equipment, if you got a hand where every problem looks like a nail sort
Chris
of thing.
Cossier says he sticks his bare hands into solutions. That's a really bad idea anyway.
Well, that depends on how concentrated they are. I mean, like the stripping solution, I'd get that on my hands all the time, no problem at all.
Yeah, but yet you scream at me to wear gloves all the time. So,
Well, it depends on exactly what you're getting.
and James West says summer is worse electric AC bills in Arizona. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, different power solutions work better for different places. Personally, I would like to see actual green power here, as in nuclear and hydroelectric and some geothermal. They can keep the freaking solar panels, and they can shove the wind turbines up their fundamental orifices
Well, the thing is,
after folding them into sharp corners.
the thing is too, in Phoenix, you need to cool. That's where your big energy is. And for that, you need refrigeration, and for that, you need electricity.
Well, I'll tell you right now.
Hold on a second, please. Around here, the big energy is heating.
Yeah.
And for that, natural gas is extremely efficient.
Yep.
And so you could,
Well, I'll tell you,
use
if
the
I were in
gas.
James's position, if I had the money and I was stupid enough to decide to continue living in Arizona, I'm not saying you're stupid, James, but we all know Arizona sucks rocks, okay? The goddess has proclaimed that Arizona sucks rocks. Your state is no longer in my worldview. If I were consigned to living in Arizona again and I had the money, I would be digging a home that was partially underground. It would be about 2/3 below ground, 1/3 above ground, and the 1/3 above ground would be rammed earth. Because then you don't have a cooling problem. As a matter of fact, you actually can end up, depending on how you position your house, like if you drill it into a hill, you can actually end up having a heating problem. So yeah, I mean, if I were going to live in Arizona, that is what I would do if I had money. Because that is the greenest solution for the desert other than rammed earth on top of the ground or old school thick adobe on top of the ground. Your best solution is going to be that. I will say, the adobe hovel. If we had done all our cooking outside in the summer instead of just part of it, we could have lived very comfortably only using the window air conditioner in the master bedroom, because that's basically all we used. That house was built originally to deal with Arizona weather back before air conditioning existed. And a lot of people don't take advantage of the old school zero tech solutions for the climate they live in. And David, I'm sorry. I know y'all people, for some bizarre and unaccountable reasons, still like Arizona. The goddess shows mercy to all, even if they like Arizona. As far as the goddess is concerned, Arizona sucks rocks. And it always will. If I never, ever see another cactus in my life, I will be very, very happy.
Well,
If I never see another tarantula in my life, I will be very happy.
Jeff, it's not just that. The skin on my hands is much thicker than the skin on Eva's hands, and I know what acid's starting to, eat through your skin and stuff feels like. So I'm a lot more likely to be able to avoid injury without too much trouble. She, on the other hand, has delicate skin, not nearly as thick, and so it just makes sense.
Well, outlier, I'm serious. Arizona genuinely sucks rocks, okay? I don't think we've seen GRH channel ourselves over here. Yeah, basement cooling using the ground is another excellent example,
Oh, yeah.
James. I mean, there's all kinds of practical, low-tech, zero-tech solutions to deal with most of your household energy problems. It's just a whole lot of people don't want to use those solutions. And I can get that. I mean, they can be expensive to implement in our regulatory environment. And like, a lot of people would not have lived in the adobe hovel the way we did. We did not have that swamp cooler that was on the roof. Did not work, okay? We did not have whole house air conditioning. We didn't have whole house heating. in the Adobe hovel. And look at the situation I'm living in now. Can you see any normal woman wanting to live in this house? In the condition this place is in?
Not the average woman. Normal, yes. Average, no. Yeah, I mean, I say that's another thing. Average is not necessarily normal.
Yeah. Well, let me put it this way. I am betting that Amanda is going to be silently horrified but very polite about it. I'm pretty sure that Dylan is going to have a vocal meltdown and he'll probably end up screaming at you because you're abusing me. Ryan thinks we're crazy.
Well, yeah.
And Clara, as practical as Clara is, also would never live in these circumstances unless she had to.
Yeah.
Patrick, I love mud brick houses. I have nothing against mud brick houses.
News today in metal.
What is the news today in metals? I do not know because I was busy setting up your live stream. I can tell you this. No matter what the price of silver is at the moment, it's definitely on sale, okay? Silver is definitely on sale. Gold is definitely on sale. Everything is still on sale at the moment.
Mini circles, huh?
Yeah, something dropped and came back, though. We are back, according to this.
I don't know. We're getting a good sound and video at this point in time. Someone please say something just so we can double check.
Okay, as long as we're back here.
Yeah. We got a little message for a second.
Okay, right now, I closed the chat window for a moment because I want to go get the gold prices so we can put them up on the board. Okay. So, I'm going to get those gold prices up for you here. All right. Gold is $26.63.40. Silver is $31.85. Platinum is $9.39. Palladium's $9.66. Rhodium is $4,400. Yes. So that's there. That's about all we can say there.
Thank you, Annie.
I think what we're going to be seeing here, I think our new practical and realistic floor for gold, for silver, is $30. I think if we see any dip below 30 an ounce, it's going to be an extremely short-lived dip. I think it is quite possible that with all the economic mayhem that Biden and company are doing before the election, before the electoral Congress and the inauguration and everything happens, I think it's entirely possible that we will see silver have another jump in price that manages to stick. And yeah, to some extent, Chris, gold prices will follow the mining season because gold, for whatever reason, I believe part of it is the contract situation is less volatile than silver, okay? Because gold contracts and silver contracts work a little bit differently. Almost all of the metal that comes out of the ground in any mining system and in any mining season and at any mine is already going to be pre-sold, pre-contracted for, ready to go. Because they don't want to blow things up and pull things out of the ground without knowing they have a market for it. The difference is the nature of the market. Gold is primarily a thing that belongs to governments and big banks. A very small percentage of it goes into technology and electronics. A slightly larger percentage of it goes into making jewelry. But, the vast majority of it is banks, big banks and governments. So it stays a lot more stable. David, I don't know what to tell you, okay? But silver is a lot more volatile because you've got your technical uses, electronics, computer shit, etc. You've got, yes, honey bunny, futures markets pay into it. You've got your industrial uses beyond electronics. Silver for solar panels and wind turbines and all that stupid shit, as opposed to computers and smartphones. You've got a much larger jewelry market for silver than you have for gold, in terms of volume and real price. Yeah, I can't do anything about it. On my screen, they're matching. So don't tell me about it, okay? But that's the thing, is there's a whole lot more volatility to be seen there. So, yeah, your gold prices are going to stick a lot closer to the way mining's working. Your silver prices are going to be a lot more volatile. And right now, Lord Monarchy and his merry little minions in Mordor on the Potomac are in the process of wreaking economic mayhem everywhere. In case you have missed the news, first of all, Yellen the villain completely and totally effed the entire economy over. Because if you take a look at the recent treasury bonds that have been rolling out for auction in huge, huge piles, there have been almost no 10-year, 20-year, 30-year. The ratio between the long-term bonds and the short-term bonds is wildly skewed. Right now, a whole lot of the shit the Treasury is selling is short-term. They're short-term things. They're coincidentally, bizarrely, and unaccountably going to be rolling over and causing economic mayhem as Trump is taking office, and in Trump's first year in office, and in Trump's second year in office, leading up to the midterms, which is going to cause some horrible spikes in inflation if we're not really, really careful. Okay? Now, of course, you do know that that's what they're intending to happen. They're intending for inflation to go, woo, once Trump is back in office, so they can say, see, everything was perfect when Lord Malarkey was in. The best president ever, don't you know? So that's one thing. The other thing is all of these federal agencies that have piles of money sitting around that they had not dispersed yet, are dispersing that money anywhere and everywhere with little or no paperwork as fast as humanly possible, because they know that if that money has not been sent out the door before Donald Trump comes into office on January 21st, the day after he gets himself inaugurated again, and Vivek Ramaswamy and Doge Elon Musk get to work, if that money hasn't been distributed, it's going to be clawed right back, and it will go poof and disappear, and all of a sudden the money supply is going to get a lot smaller again, which is going to keep inflation low, which is what they don't want to happen, okay? So there's that, too. Plus, it turns out that Lord Malarkey and company have also decided to renegotiate a bunch of contracts with a bunch of these federal unions that should all be made illegal, by the way. The goddess does not approve of federal employees or any government employee of any kind having a union, period, end of story. But be that as it may, since no one listens to me, even though I'm always right, what they've been doing is going in and renegotiating these contracts and setting them up to last a lot longer than the typical 2 years that they last. Normally, It's a 2-year contract, and it comes up right around the time the National Defense, the NDAA, comes up again. Okay? It's one of those things the government does every year. But oh no, Lord Malarkey and Company decided to go in before they were due to be renegotiated, and renegotiate a whole bunch of these federal union contracts, so they won't expire. And in fact, some of them won't expire until after Trump is out of office. And those contracts give these federal employees all kinds of benefits, including being able to work remote. Because unfortunately, as much as I love the idea of Doge, as much as I love what Vivek and Elon are laying down here, okay? You don't tell your enemy what you're planning to do. Trump never should have been telling anybody who he wanted to get in office. At least not this far in advance. Because it's giving these people time to set up issues, okay? Elon and Vivek should have been a lot more closed-mouthed about some of the things they intended on doing as soon as Doge gets going. Because Lord Malarkey and his merry minions in Mordor on the Potomac, more the minions than Malarkey himself since he's way out to lunch, have now had a couple of weeks to a couple of months to get counter moves in place. I think she missed it. Liz Cheney announced today, in all her glory, that no lawyers had better even think about going after anyone on the J6 committee. Perish the thought. Because if they do, well, they're going to be subject to some sort of unspecified legal penalties and criminal charges, and who the hell knows. So we shall see. But this is the environment that we are looking at our precious metals in right now. This is the larger pictures for precious metals. Because right now, as we've seen, gold and silver and platinum, all our precious metals, even the platinum group ones, are staying in a relatively narrow range. They're doing real well here. I mean, we've seen gold fluctuating in a nice $150 to $200 range. We see silver fluctuating in a nice $2 range, $1.75 range, somewhere around there. Right now, that is a good thing, because it means they're still on sale. Because these are the time bombs that Lord Malarkey and Company have set up. Those are only the time bombs we know about, okay? These are only the booby traps that we know about. We don't know anywhere near the full extent of booby traps that these yo-yos are setting up over there in D.C. Not to mention what's going on in the rest of the world, because we all know the rest of the world's a little screwed. I mean, there's this kerfluffle going on in Syria. There are kerfluffles going on in Turkey. There are kerfluffles going on in Lebanon and several other places. I mean, World War III is just simmering along, and it has been simmering along for a year and a half. We have no idea where it's going to go from there. All of this is setting up to create a giant economic collapse and an inflation bomb to end all inflation bombs, which would tank the stock market, amongst other things. And that is when precious metals shine. Is when people finally wake up and look around and say, well, this is a highly undesirable circumstance. So I think I want me some silver. And I will say, anecdotally speaking, that the last couple of times I was in my local coin shop and I was talking to our guys, they were a little surprised, because normally when there's a spike in silver or a spike in gold, they see people coming in and profit taking, selling off their silver and gold. They normally see sales, buying and selling, working almost in opposition with the price. When the prices are low, everybody's buying and nobody's selling, which makes sense because you don't want to sell at a loss. When the prices are high, everybody's selling but nobody's buying for the same reason. You don't want to buy at what is perceived as a loss. But what's happening in coin shops around the country is they're not seeing that profit taking happening when these little spikes happen like this one here with silver. When silver, hits 32 or even 32.50, they're not seeing profit taking. When gold hits 27 and change, they're not seeing the profit taking. People are holding and they're buying more. That is a good sign. And yeah, Patrick, y'all definitely need a Trump in Australia of some kind or another. Bear, are you going to come back here and talk to your people again?
Sure.
Well, anyway, silver and gold are still on sale. Oh, and by the way, the price of eggs is going to get rather drastically higher very, very shortly, so I would watch that, and I would definitely buy more eggs if I were you. Wouldn't hurt to buy some chicken, too. But, the price of eggs is probably going to spike again. And the dairy scandal surrounding Bovaer, that anti-fart shit that they're feeding cows now, well, that's widening. Because would you believe, I know you're not going to believe this, Arla, that's the big grocery company over there in the UK, released a very nice statement decrying the misinformation that is all over social media surrounding this miraculous product. Now, bear in mind, methane from cow farts makes up less than 0.028% of the methane apparently in the UK, okay? And if you feed the cows enough of this stuff to get the full effect, which is a reduction of 23% in the farts. 23% of 0.028 or something. It's really, really stupid. But beyond that, they announced social media is full of misinformation. That misinformation should be throttled because it could cost lives. And Bovaer is safe and effective. Where have we heard that before? I have no idea, but that certainly does sound familiar. That sounds almost as familiar as we're all in this together now, doesn't it? So, yeah. It turns out that the company that pioneered this stuff and has been testing it quietly on 200,000 cows for 15 years. Wonder how that happened. Well, it turns out one of their majority stockholders is a little company called BlackRock. I don't know why, but that name sounds familiar too. No clue. Just no clue. But yes, if you want to find out who is using this crap in the United States of America, you need to go look at the Dairy Farmers of America. They have an X account. But I do know that Metal Gold, one of the companies we have here, is using it. If you're curious about Australia, on one hand, the Australian government is swearing up, down, and sideways that no, this stuff hasn't been approved at all. But on the other hand, there's certainly paperwork floating around and commercials floating around and announcements floating around that indicate that it may well be being used down there anyway, which some of my Australian friends are tracking down that. That could turn out to be a very big scandal. But yes, this is going to cause issues with the price of dairy products. It's going to cause issues with the cows. Because I'm sorry, if you're feeding cows a diet that causes them to fart more, and then you shut off the part of their system that causes those parts to happen so that they can stay healthy, this is probably not a right. So the goddess would highly suggest that you do a little digging in your own locality and figure out exactly who may be selling tainted dairy products. Because that's not good. Just saying. Okay. And remember, if you don't hold it, you don't own it.
Anyhow, the situation is, as I predicted, unpredictable. um, so the situation overseas is getting more unpredictable. I mean, I don't think anyone predicted Syria was going to fall in 3 or 4 days. Hey, honey bunny. So, I'm not sure who's pushing what buttons where right now. I don't know what the plan is. I don't know what the situation is, but I do know this. I don't know. And that makes me a bit concerned. But yeah, it's getting pretty unpredictable out there. I just refed everything, little one, so it should be in good shape for the next 15, 20 minutes. But,
Well, things need to be moved because they collapsed.
whatever. So anyhow, it's still, what, a month and a half before Trump even theoretically takes office, assuming nothing screws that up. I'm not confident that that's a done deal at this point. We shall see what we shall see, but my advice remains the same, and that is go ahead and be as resilient as possible. I mean, that's basically what you need for your family and for yourself. Just be prepared. You know, be a good Boy Scout, Girl Scout, whatever Scout. Identify whatever it is you want, but be prepared and be versatile. Well, another thing that's interesting to me is that Trump said something that I don't necessarily agree with. I know what he's trying to do is defend the U.S. dollar, and he basically was saying that any country that decides to start trading in the BRICS currency or whatever, he's going to put like 100% tariffs. I don't know. I don't think that's going to work, but I have not. Again, this is way above my pay grade. But yeah, interesting things are happening, and I have given up on trying to keep track of everything everywhere and put 2 and 2 together, come up with 4. It's just, okay, I got no control over it. All I'm going to do is be as prepared as I can be and keep my eyes open. By the way, we had an earthquake last week, reported varied 7.0 and 7.3. It was right at the bottom of the Cascadia subduction zone. And for a while there, we were getting a lot of aftershocks, but those have pretty well slowed down at this point. So, imminent danger of a Cascadia subduction zone rupture seemed to be going down. But for a day or two, that was getting pretty interesting because you're getting a magnitude 3 aftershock like every 10 minutes. And it was right there where if you had Here's the Pacific Coast. Here's the Juan de Fuca North American Plate boundary. Here's the Pacific Plate. Juan de Fuca and North American. And all these quakes were right in this area here. It was concerning because this is the area that when it goes, the Northwest is going to be in a world of hurt. So that was interesting to watch. See, here's the night I was moving to where Trump. Yeah. Yeah. And say I really don't know what is going on, but there's definitely stuff behind the scenes that we're not very well. I'm not knowledgeable about. I say for Syria to just fall in 4 days, that's pretty bizarre. By the way, if you want to see earthquakes, I don't know the same, but just go to earthquake, Google earthquake, USGS, and they've got a world map that you can zoom in on and everything that shows you the earthquakes that are happening in the last 24 hours and stuff. So that was kind of interesting to watch that going on there, because when that breaks loose, a couple of years ago, I was reading the Oregon Department of Oregon Geological Survey website, and it basically said if you're in this coastal area of Oregon, west of the Coast Ranges, when the big one hits, you're not going to see a first responder for a minimum of 2 weeks. And so that was pretty sobering. There, when it cuts loose up there, it's going to be real interesting. Somewhere between an 8 and a 9, depending on whether it's a partial zone rupture or a full zone rupture. Everything like a full zone rupture would lead to not only a pretty good sized tsunami similar to what they had in Fukushima, but also in the Seattle-Tacoma area, 10,000 landslides, you know, which will kind of mess up your logistics net. So I said that had me focused for a couple of days, keeping an eye on that. I would also like to thank Lauren, first of all, fronting me that load of wood. I really appreciate that, but also starter started giving me problems in the van, and so I was over at his place today, and we replaced it, which means he replaced it. He's a pretty good mechanic, and he's a lot faster than me, so I'm happy to hand him tools and stuff. But I want to thank him for all of that. I appreciate it a lot. And then Wednesday on our way back, we're going to be stopping at Jimmy's in Cardwell and dropping off those baby blankets for the grandkids. And go from there. Any questions or any subjects anyone would like to bring up? Because well, it's not just that, Brian, but how are you going to get food to, I don't know, what, 1 or 2 million people or more in the affected areas, maybe 3 or 4, in a reasonable period of time? People can't go long without food and without water. Now, in the Pacific Northwest, water is not near as much of a problem as some other places, but nevertheless, if you can't get resupply in a substantial amount real quick, you're going to have absolute chaos. And that'll just make it even harder to get food and essential supplies in. I'm concerned here with refugees. I don't know who's planning for these things, you know? And it could be Honey Bunny. Things could get out of control. Of course, in the Pacific Northwest, it doesn't burn as easily as any other places would. But yeah, when you have, I can't think of any place that got the kind of disruption that that's going to have, except maybe Japan during the Fukushima thing. Now you had the Boxing Day earthquake in Indonesia, and there was 300,000 dead. And it's a fairly moderate climate. So if this earthquake was to hit during the weekend on a summer day, I think they said they were like going to be 100,000 people that wouldn't be able to get off the beach before the tsunami got them. I mean, it could be really just insane. So I don't know who is planning the contingencies for this, if anyone. I have absolutely no faith that planning and preparation is commensurate with the threat. So I don't know. I don't live in that area anymore, and I have no desire to go back at this point in time. But we may be significantly affected by logistics disruptions and refugees. You know, I think a lot of people may just try and get out of the area and make it as far as here. And then we'll see how we can deal with it. I don't know. It's one of those problems that's just so big that I have no idea. Yep, exactly, Ryan. You're welcome, Douglas. Anytime you got any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I don't know how bad the damage will be in Long Beach. Okay? I really have no clue. That's going to be pretty far from the shaking won't be a problem. You know, ground movement won't be a problem. Tsunami will be significant, but I don't know if it's going to be substantially damaging at that distance. We're looking in the neighborhood of 700-800 miles, and kind of not a direct line of sight sort of thing. So I'm not sure. But yeah, could get interesting. And they're overdue. Based on the historical sediment records, yeah, they're overdue for this quake. Anyhow, anybody got any more questions or subjects they want to bring up or anything? See how many we got still here. 17. Yep, that's pretty good for this time of night. Oh, yeah. That doesn't mean there's not other things that can directly threaten Long Beach. Absolutely, honey bunny. And if the Cascadia cuts loose, it can trigger other stuff soon. Not like immediately. Usually they don't happen instantly, but like within the next month to year. something of that size can trigger other stuff. But yeah, it's a mess. Alrighty. We're going to. Oh yeah, up here there was massive flood. You know, the last time there were several of them actually. In terms of tsunamis, they've got 10,000 years of records along the Pacific Northwest coast. Details right now, we got nothing really going on the gold mining. We've been too busy doing the move and like that. I've got concentrates over there I need to pan out, which I'm planning on doing. I'm hoping if we can get that second camera, it would be fun to do that on a live stream. But got that X-ray film stuff to do too. We shall see. We shall see. Also, probably going to try and rebuild the kiln that this winter. It would be nice. No, you're welcome, Brian. So, anyhow, say anything else? Where can you get some yaks? I think you're pretty much going to have to go to Asia there. Up in the Himalayas, they got plenty of them. I don't think so, Honey Bunny. I think he just does them kind of randomly at this present time. But I'm going to see what I can do in terms of remote cameras. May have to wait until, well, he even says Dylan's not going to help out on that. I don't know. We'll see what we can do. Okay? And I say we got to hit the road tomorrow and get Eva up to Billings for her doctor. And then from there, we'll have to see what they schedule. Hopefully they can get that surgery scheduled quickly. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see what goes on.
The kitchen light just went out again.
Kitchen light just, yeah. Let's see something here. I gotta check something, folks. Let's see. The other one works.
Oh yeah, the other one's never gone out.
Which one? Okay, so it's that one there, huh?
Yeah, it's that one there.
Where's the little step stool? Any idea?
No idea.
There it is. I'm trying to figure out whether it's the, what do you call it? The ballast or wiring or what. But this fluorescent light goes out from time to time. Whoa, that's pretty hot there.
So don't use that light.
I'm thinking. Okay, so that one there. Yeah, the ballast is pretty hot on that. It may have an overheat limit on it. Let's see.
So let's put a piece of tape over that.
I was thinking the same thing, except I'm trying to figure out where my tape is, little one. McMansion, yeah. Just a second while I deal with this situation, folks. We got something in here. I know I got tape somewhere. There's something. Okay, that one's taped off, little one. Uh, so anyhow, yeah, they.
I need to order on,
What?
I need to order a book on Amazon this week.
Okay. Yeah, the fluorescent fixture was so hot I couldn't really touch it, you know. So those were scheduled for replacement anyhow. The one that's really confusing me is the one in the bathroom, because that shouldn't have a any kind of shut off. I don't think the light would have. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, honey bunny. I used to like Mickey D's. You know, I've heard something about that for us. Something like, oh, LEDs. Yeah, as we will be replacing the fixtures. Those are scheduled for replacement anyhow. So it's just one more thing. So anyhow, got things to deal with, but nothing critical. Okay, got that one shut down for now. Again, oh, and Chris, I'll try and get some of those sulfides panned in the next week or so. Check with me next live stream or whatever. Okay, yeah, American Science and Surplus. Those are some pretty cool. They got some pretty cool stuff. So, anyhow, we'll keep fixing things and checking things off the list. We have an actual light bar sort of thing. Sounds like pretty close, honey bunny, but not just yet. To put up there, we bought it real cheap. It was like, what was it, 90% off? I think it was. Brand new over at hardware store. They were just doing clearance stuff. We also got some exterior lights from Home Depot for $5 each. I got lots of stuff to do to keep me busy here without spending a lot of money at this point. Anyhow, currently it's 69 degrees inside, 50 degrees in the crawl space, below freezing outside. Pardon?
And the heater just triggered again.
Yeah, the heater just triggered again. Yep. Anyhow.
I can get you off the live stream and...
Hold on a second. Let's see. Oh, I agree. So, anyhow, I don't think there's anything else to talk about right now. If anyone doesn't have anything. Oh, yeah. They have $5 for the exterior sconces with photocells. The standard price is $40.
$6.04 a piece.
$6.04, huh? Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay, Chris.
email us, Chris.
Yep, that'll help. Okay. Let's call it a night then, I guess. So go ahead and post, honey bunny. Thanks for showing up, everyone. And thanks for asking questions.
And happy prospecting and keep it safe out there.
Let her post. Interesting to see what the...
My girlfriend, y'all met up when we passed her. Oh, man, I'm sorry, Chris.
I hope it wasn't a
Out and over, Brian. Happy prospecting
amicable
and
thing.
keeping safe out there.
Y'all take
See you
care.
next week.